Um, Happy Wednesday. It's so cold today. I know everybody back home got like 5 inches of snow, so that's exciting when it snows in the south. I missed it again every time. I feel like every time it snows there, I miss it, but I've only seen snow there, I think, once. But it snowed here yesterday and the day before. Whoops. So there's still a ton of snow. Um, there's still a ton of, I don't know if you guys can hear me. There's still a ton of snow everywhere. Like still on my car and just ice all over the roads and icicles everywhere. So it was absolutely freezing this morning. If anybody jumps on here, I just want to talk about a dream I had from the Lord last night. It was pretty powerful. Um, so uh, I've been having more more dreams lately. Like they're coming in bits and pieces, but I swear to you, January 20th on inauguration day, and I'm not political. We can talk about politics if you guys want to, but I swear to you, on January 20th, I felt like a whole thing of spiritual warfare just lift off of me. So I don't know if it was just the warfare in the atmosphere in the last month leading up to the transition or what, because like there's heightened times of spiritual warfare that are kind of corporate. That's kind of like what I knew as soon as it lifted. It was like, whoa, it was like night and day. The next day felt like a completely totally different atmosphere. Um so anyway, I had a dream. A couple of dreams this week, like bits and pieces, and one was ominous, as in like it felt like an EMP or some type of something that knocked out the power. Because I had no electrical in my car. Everything was pitch black dark. Like, when the lights go out everywhere. So like every building was like a complete blackout and it was nighttime. And so even in my car went off and wouldn't come back on. So I was like, I knew it was some type of like EMP that went off, because like why wouldn't my car start? So um but that was just like a piece of a dream, and so that wasn't like a full dream. But then last night I had a really encouraging dream from the Lord too. So that dream is kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight. I know I didn't put that I was going to come on live, so if you guys catch this in the playback, you can watch it then. But what I wanted to say is, like, this dream, it was really encouraging because it kind of gave me clarity on how I've been feeling, that I didn't realize that that was how I was feeling until after I had the dream, and it made so much sense after the fact. But in the dream, I was like on this space station, like in the middle of outer space. It was so weird. I was just like, no one was on it. Well, there was one man with me on the space station, and I was walking around the space station, and it was big. It was just enormous, the enormity of it. But it we were like suspended in outer space, but you could see all the stars and the whole universe all around us, and it was glorious. Like, the view was glorious. But I remember walking to the window. It had these big windows where I could see out, like, panoramic, like, all around me. And there was this like little device mechanism like right in front of me, and I knew that that's how we were getting oxygen, right? But I walked to the windows, and as I'm gazing out, and I realized, like, so I just started thinking about, like, the enormity and the solitude of my situation, being somewhere completely isolated like that in the middle of the galaxy. Like, I felt, all of a sudden I just started looking at all the negative things, right? Like, what would happen if the glass broke and all the oxygen got sucked out, and I was dead. I just started thinking about all these fears, right? And but like, the view was absolutely the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. But I wasn't looking at the view at first. I was looking at all the things that could go wrong, and I started looking at this like device in front of me that basically it was like I knew that's how we were getting air somehow in the air was working. And so there was one man on the ship with me, and and he got so frustrated with me because I'm freaking out. I'm starting to have a panic attack at this point in the dream, where I'm like worried about this and I'm worried about that. And he's like, and I'm like, what about the air? You know, like what happens? I kept saying, what happens if? What happens if? What happens if? It was just hypotheticals, but they were freaking me out. And when I asked the question about the air, it was like he got so frustrated with me. He just grabbed the air hose and ripped it out, and then looked at me like, and I was like, what are you doing? We're gonna die. And I easily just connected it right back together. And then he looked at me. He's like, did you die? And I was like, no. And he's like, why are you worried? And then I woke up, and I was like, I knew that this dream was so like, just, it was Jesus in the dream, and he was like putting my situation into perspective, basically. So I wanted to share it with you. I know it's a personal dream, but it is very encouraging because there's a stage. I talked about this in my last video. There's stages to a trial. There's stages to a trial. One of the stages is like when you hear the voice of the enemy, doubt, self-doubt, and all this stuff, and accusations, the length of the trial, things like that. But there's also this stage where you think that, like, all the negativity, you're looking at the impossibilities and your surroundings, and all the things that could go wrong, and you're not focusing on what is actually happening. You're not looking at it from God's perspective. You're looking at it from your infantile perspective. So what happens is, after he said, but did you die? And I said, no. I had this calm that came over me, realizing that I wasn't going to die. So I had to and then I had to like transition my thoughts to, okay, well then what's happening? And as I turned back around and looked out the same window, I saw the glory of the situation that I was in. I was like, I saw the amazing like surroundings that I was in. And the man who was with me, he said, do you know how special it is to be on the ship? Do you know that you're the fourth person that's ever been on this ship that will ever get to experience this? And it was like he was talking to me from behind me as I'm gazing out, like, to this beautiful, I started taking in the beauty of my situation instead of the impossibilities or all the what ifs of what could go wrong, right? And it was in that moment, that's when I woke up. Sorry, that's when I woke up, is after he spoke that to me. And I had the revelation of like, oh no, this is an amazing thing that's happening to me right now, and I'm looking at everything all wrong. And so anyway, it was just very encouraging because I knew the Lord was speaking to me about my situation, and we all go through this when we go through the walks of faith, right? So everything about our spiritual journey should be a faith walk, just like the children of Israel, just like Abraham, just like all the people in Hebrews 11, the spiritual giants that have, walked in the great faith, right? The lineage of faith that we have, from Abel's the righteous blood of Abel, all the way through today, throughout history. We've all gone on this journey of faith. And so one of my favorite stories, and this is kind of what I was doing, is Deuteronomy is my favorite book of the Bible. And in Deuteronomy, Devarim, let's see, chapter 1, the children have just come out of Egypt, and they're like in the wilderness. And basically in Deuteronomy, Moses is recapping everything that happened, and then he's like explaining to them what will happen in the future. And it's basically a recap of everything that happened in their journeys and stuff. But I just want to read like 3 verses out of this. And it says, or 4 verses. And they departed and went up into the mountains and came to the valley of Eshcol and spied it out. So he's recapping the story of sending in the spies. And they took some of the fruit of the land in their hands and brought it down to us. And they brought back word to us saying, it is a good land which the Lord our God is giving us. Nevertheless, you would not go up, but rebelled in the commandment of the Lord your God, and you complained in your tents and said, because the Lord hates us, he has brought us out of the land of Egypt to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us. Where can we go up? our brethren have discouraged our hearts, saying, these people are greater and taller than we. The cities are great and fortified up into heaven. Moreover, we have seen the sons of the Anakim here. Then I said to you, do not be terrified of them or afraid of them. The Lord your God who goes before you, he will fight for you according to all he did for you in Egypt before your eyes. And in the wilderness where you saw the Lord your God, he carried you as a man carries his son in all the way that you went until you came into this place. And so I love I love this because it's like this is the story of our trial. Like we have to go through these same experiences. And a lot of times it's like we see the great vastness of our situation, the giants in the land, and if we look at that and ignore the command of God that he is bringing you here to bless you, but if we don't have that right perspective of this is a glorious thing, that this trial that you're going through is because he's trying to bless you with something, it's not to punish you. But if you look at it through the eyes of you're looking at the giants, and you're looking at all the negativity, you're thinking God brought me here to kill me like because he hates me, and that is like in my dream I was looking at all the things that could go wrong. And it wasn't until he like ripped the air, it was like, so the man in my dream, I'm not going to say it was Jesus himself, but like, because some dreams Jesus does come to me and it looks like Jesus, and he has eyes like fire and a voice like many waters. This was, a lot of times I have dreams where it's like a man and it's like symbolic of Jesus, right? Like, so it's like he's trying to teach me something in the dream. Anyway, we'll just say he represented Jesus. And he, in the dream, he was trying to like rip out what I was terrified of more, the most, to show me like you're not gonna die, everything is fine. But he was showing me my worst fears so that I could like overcome that fear, right? And he was actually frustrated with me because I didn't trust him. I was looking at these stupid things and not realizing that the captain of the ship was on the ship with me, and that we are capable, we are going somewhere, everything's fine. Look at your glorious surroundings. Look at how special it is to be on the ship, right? Like look at the universe, put this into perspective, and so it kind of like just recapped everything that I was going through. And the same thing with the children of Israel. You come up out of Egypt. Egypt represents the world, like the worldly way, the worldly system. Egypt is the world. And then Jesus brings you out of Egypt through salvation. But then you don't go directly to a promised land, you go into a wilderness. And so in the wilderness, he gets Egypt out of you so that when you go into your promised land, you don't bring Egypt into the promised land with you, right? So there's this process of the trial. And so like the thing that he hated most and couldn't you know the thing that he hated most was their backbiting, their complaining, their lack of gratefulness, their lack of trust in him. They watched all these miracles and then doubted that he was doing good to them. And it was for their doubt that he said, these people, this whole generation will die off in the wilderness. See, that generation has to die off in you. That generation of unbelief has to die off before you can enter in. What happens in a trial is there's work being done inside before the door can open naturally. There's an internal thing that has to happen in your own heart, of your own doubts dying off. Like, you have to come to this place of full trust in the Lord, full alignment with his spirit. And that is easy to say with words. It is a whole nother thing when you are freezing to death. Like when I woke up this morning and I am frozen. It was the coldest night yet. And just, like scrounging together a couple bucks to go get some coffee, and all like nonstop things are piling up and piling up and piling up. And I'm just like, how much more can I take, and and then the impossibility of this vast city. If you start looking around at like these giant buildings, you feel like a grasshopper. And so it's easy to say in your mind that these are the things that need to happen, but like it's literally that, because it is this internal thing that you can say with your mouth you believe God with all your heart, and you can recount all the stories of his faithfulness and all that stuff, but there is still this internal thing that has to just lock into place, and that is a spiritual battle. Like, because you can profess stuff all day with your mouth, but until your heart, your mind, your soul all link up, and you set your mind, you set your face like flint, I promise nothing's gonna happen. It has to align. Everything has to align with God, and so sometimes our mind will align, but our heart's not aligned, and like we can be very double-minded. I'm guilty of that very thing a lot, especially when it's hard, and so we have to kill that double-mindedness in our own heart and mind in order to enter in. But the length of the trial is always gonna um there's always a length to the trial. That's why it's never just, okay, I believe God, I got the word, and I'm just going to go in and claim this thing. There's always the length of the trial to test if you're still as believing at the start as you are, I mean, at the finish as you were at the start, so that length of time is coming to test you. Like Joseph got the dream when he was like a kid, and then he didn't become ruler over Egypt for like 20 years, so during that time, that word came to test Joseph. That's what it says in the Psalms. Abraham got a promise and didn't receive Isaac for 20 years. That word came to test Abraham. There's always a length of time, and in that's where the battle of the faith is. And believe me, there's always a battle of the faith. Even with righteous Abraham, they didn't wait on God, they had Ishmael, so I don't care how great your faith is, even the faith of Abraham was weak at times, right? And so don't beat yourself up or shame you for shame yourself for having these battles of the doubt. That's a normal thing, but at least we are wrestling with God. At least it's not just like, no, Lord, I give up, I'm going home. To me, here's my thing. It's like the Lord said, I'm here, I will freeze to death in this car before I come home. We will wait this thing out, and either I will die in the natural or my doubt will die, but something's gonna die, right? Like, you just have to stay just committed to that. And I always say it's a good day to die. It's a good day to die. Die to self, right? And so I will either die here in the natural because I couldn't die in my flesh to believe enough, or I will die to myself and God will open up a door, but something's gonna die, and I'm committed to that much, right? I might be wrestling with my doubts and stuff, and I might be in that battle, but I'm not gonna stop battling, right? Like that's the whole thing. You're gonna you're gonna struggle. It is a struggle. That's why Jacob wrestled with the Lord all night. He wrestled with the Lord. The angel of the Lord, that was Jesus. They were wrestling all night, and Jesus changed his name to Israel means one who has wrestled with God. That means I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to quit this battle until something changes in my life, And so that is it. So if you're not battling, then yeah, that's the worst thing you could possibly do. But anybody who is in the battle, like, that's okay. God would much rather see you in that battle and kind of teetering back and forth in your belief than casting your belief off completely and just giving up on the Lord. The Lord wants us to wrestle with him. He wants us to wrestle with him until the breaking of the day, right? Until the breaking of the day. Not weeping may last for the evening, but joy will come in the morning, right? And so that story of Jacob is absolutely one of my favorite in the whole entire Bible. And so, but you cannot, even with Jacob, he had left Laban. Laban was chasing him from one side, and then Esau was waiting for him on the other at the brook of Jabbok. So he knew. He was like, "Oh, I can't go back to where I've been, and I can't go to where I need to go until something changes, Lord." And so he wrestled with the Lord all night, and he said, "No, I will not let you go until you change me, until you bless me." So he gave the Lord no choice but to move in his life, right? That's what the Lord is looking for us and all of us. An Israelite is one who has wrestled with God. It's a spiritual thing, right? It has nothing to do with your bloodline, I promise. If you don't wrestle with the Lord, you're not his. And so anyway, that's it was just such an encouraging dream because once I looked out that window from a new perspective and the Lord spoke to me and he's like, do you know how special it is that you're here? I think he said, you're like, I mean, I can't say it was the Lord. I'm just saying the man in the dream. It just represented the Lord, you know? But he's like, do you know how special it is? You're like you're only the fourth person that's ever been on this ship. And so it was like this rare thing, right? And, and that's the way we really should look at the trial is that like, he's literally called you to a trial because he trusts that you will overcome it, right? He's not going to set you up for failure. He's not going to call you into a battle you can't win. He's not going to call you to something that you can't overcome. He's not going to set you up for failure. So what I'm saying is like, it's a blessing that he's called you to the battle, right? He's not doing it to punish you. He's not doing it because he hates you. And so it's just like he's trying to bless you. There's a blessing in it. And he doesn't call everyone to the battle because not everyone would survive the battle, right? That's why those who are sons and daughters of God are chastened by the Lord, because they willingly want to be chastened because they want the full inheritance of a son or a daughter. You know, servants are the ones who refuse to go through the chastening process. But if you really want that close, intimate relationship as with a father, and to know him as such, you have to endure the chastening. You have to endure the trial. That's how you get there. The reason why this prosperity church today, the prosperity gospel, they don't talk about the chastening and the trial and the tribulation and the struggle is because they're all servants. They don't even know about the trial. Because once you know about the trial, believe me, like, you know that is what we are called to. You know, they stop at this servant level of Christianity of, yeah, you're in the kingdom, but you're not really a son or a daughter. You talk about gifts and anointings and power and all that stuff, but you're not willing to take up your cross and follow him, you know? So there's a difference, you know? And so the Lord does not disappoint. You know, he doesn't call us and put us in these situations to shame us. You know, no one who waits on the Lord will be put to shame. And so yeah, it was just a very encouraging dream that I had. Hold on, let me read this. Oh, you're welcome. Are you in England? Oh, I think they're gone. Anyway, yeah, it's been a crazy couple of days, huh? With the Trump presidency or whatever. I felt like this whole shift in the atmosphere, like on the 20th, which was really exciting, because I'd been under such warfare, and I swear to you, it like literally. Oh, cool, cool. um, I think my cousin lives in London. He works at Cambridge, I believe, or he's working on his doctorate at Cambridge. I think he works there too. I don't. But anyway, uh, it, there's so many things happening. Like I'm not really a political person. I think I mean, I study politics and stuff, but I know a lot of people have been sending me stuff about the oh, you were born in London? Cool. I want to go, but I've been seeing some crazy reports that it's not very safe there right now. I don't know if that's true. Maybe you can confirm or deny it. I don't know. Yeah, that's sad, isn't it? I get all my news from TikTok, so like that's, I mean, it's probably more accurate than anywhere else, you know. But it's from like people that live there and stuff, and they're talking about like the Muslims that are like gang raping girls, like young girls and things like that, and but I mean, and Ireland too, I think. Anyway, there's a lot of crazy chaos going on. There was a school shooting today. There was I don't know. There's so many things. Every time you turn on the news, every time there's just something else and something else and something else. But anyway, there's definitely a shift in the atmosphere. But what I was gonna say is, like, a lot of people are sending me stuff about Trump, like, because they're so happy, and I get it. I understand that. Like, nobody wants to see corruption and people just not neglecting our citizens and sending foreign aid to other countries, and then the people in the Appalachian Mountains are just devastated and nobody's helping them. Like, so I'm so grateful that, like, things are at least gonna change a little bit. But here's the thing that I've come to realize over these years is there's three levels to an awakening, right? And a lot of people, I feel like the the base level of consciousness is those liberal people that have a woke agenda. They have no enlightenment. They have no light in them to see the truth whatsoever, right? And they're pretty, I hate to say ignorant people, but they're like blind to the realities of this world, right? And then the next level would be like the Republicans or the you know, whatever. And I don't want to offend anybody when I say this, but you know, they're coming to aware to, you know, at least they have like values, right, of like good, right and wrong, and, you know, national, wanting to preserve the nation and things like that. So there's that level of it. But then when you realize that these are two wings of the same eagle, and like they all work for the same people, like basically Trump won by a landslide because Biden was so evil, right? Like, people were like, no, people that aren't even Republican are like, no, we're definitely voting for Trump, you know, because even when someone's so bad that like you will vote for anyone just to have change and hope again. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they create this division so that and they navigate through our emotions, like who to vote for, you know, and they create division with race and politics and um, economic you know, status and things like that, and rich or poor, and, you know, gay, straight, they anything to divide us. They want to divide because when we come together and we are unified, right? We could do anything. We could literally have world peace. We really could. Hey, Ash. Hi. Um, just look at the TikTok thing that happened, right? If anybody was following that, if you were on TikTok right before the ban, everybody went over to the real Chinese app of Red Note, right? And all these Americans are like speaking Mandarin with Google Translate with the Chinese. For the first time in their history, they were having direct communication with American citizens, and they were making jokes and getting along and sharing cat stories. And it was like, did we just create world peace, right? Like, did we just, you know, so they united to protest to the taking away of the TikTok, and then spoke to these Chinese people and they were in shock of like, oh, nothing we've ever heard about China is true. We thought you guys were all poor living in rice paddies, and like that, none of that is true. So it was like, when the people come together and unite, they are strong. It's not the people who are good or bad. It's literally the governments that make poor decisions and put us into situations that we don't want to be in. Because if it were just the people and we just had like love for each other and took care of each other, nobody wants to be lorded over and have all this stuff that these governments do. We don't make these decisions to go to war and do all this stuff because we're the ones being like bombarded with, you know, propaganda constantly. Propaganda, like I was listening to something today about like 9/11, and they were talking about how the Muslims did that, and it's like, this is 20 years later, guys. If you don't know that was not, if you haven't figured out that was an inside job yet, that was not, like, they might have set up some Al Qaeda or whatever to look like they did it, but that was not, that building was professionally blown up, you know, and anybody with any consciousness whatsoever knows that. So how are we still spinning it that it was like Al Qaeda? Why? Because we funded 2 wars to go the last 20 years because of this one incident that was really an inside job, right? But anybody with any consciousness knows this, right? So how are they still trying to convince us that this was right? It's because it's propaganda, and we just believe it because it's easier to believe this stuff than it is to research or read your Bible or pray to the Lord to ask him to give you truth, you know? And so anybody that says anything other contrary to then the mainline narrative is called a conspiracy theorist. Well, it's not a theory if it happened, if you can prove it, if it, you know what I mean? So it's like, at what point are we going to quit calling them theories, when they're happening right in real time, right before our eyes. So at this point, it's like, um, I don't know. It's just like it's like the people that are asleep fighting against the people who are semi awake, and the people who are fully awake don't want any part of any of it, because we all know where this is headed, and it's World War III. You know what I mean? And so it's like, but as long as we stay divided from their propaganda, then they win. I mean, that's all there is to it. So I just feel like we need to wake up out of our stupor and quit hating on each other for our levels of ignorance. It's like our people are being destroyed for lack of knowledge, but instead of trying to educate people and teach people, we're trying to be right and shove, like, with pride and arrogance, our truth into someone else's face. So and that never works, because you see all the people when you turn on Facebook or whatever, and it's like all the Republicans are like cheering and bashing all the liberals, and like, celebrating because their man won, and then 4 years ago it was them doing it, the Republicans with their man winning, and it's this hatred that we're doing with each other. And it just gets so old after a while, and I don't know, that's why I just can't be political, because it's all silliness to me. But here's the thing about Trump, right? And this is what I was thinking when my friend was sending me all the stuff, and there's, a couple friends did, and they were just so happy about Trump being president, and but if you look at all the stuff he's doing, some of it is really cool, some of it's awesome, that's great, and we need it, but some of it is straight up the beast system, the really the fundamental things that have to happen for the beast system to really fully take over. And if you don't understand that, Trump needs Canada and Mexico, because the whole northern, the whole world will be divided into 10 sections, right? And so 10 kingdoms. And so one of the kingdoms is Canada, America, and the United States. So our whole continent will be one nation, right? So that's one of the things for the beast system. If you don't understand that, like, Elon Musk and his robots and all this stuff, that's not a good thing. Like, this is all beast system and beast system technology. But see, because Trump is the one, like, and everyone loves Trump, so Trump's the one pushing this stuff, everyone will take it willingly. It's much easier for us to take all this stuff willingly than it is for, like, let's say Kamala would have won, and her trying to force people to do these things. Well, that wouldn't go over well, would it? Her trying to force the B system stuff, because if it comes out of her mouth and she's not very popular, then no one's going to do it willingly. But if Trump, the savior, says it, then everybody's like, yes, sign me up, sign me up. Just like the vaccines. He's the one, he told everybody get a vaccine, right? So, and I shouldn't say that word, but that's what I'm saying. So a lot of people that would have never gotten that got it because Trump said to, so that's what I mean. If Trump says to do it, then people will do it. And so that's much easier to coerce a nation if their hero tells them to do something. And he sells it, and he makes it seem like a good idea. It's much easier to get people to go along with the bad stuff, that if they think that their hero would never, their savior wouldn't let them down. And that's why it's the most deceptive option for America, because already, if you read the 200 things he just signed, his first day, there's about 10 of them that are giant red flags for the B system. And so that's what I'm saying. As a Christian person, I don't care how godly you think this man is, there is a bigger agenda. And if you don't think he's in on this bigger agenda, then you too are just as deceived as the liberal that you hate. And you're both ignorant in my eyes, And so that's what I'm saying. The end times, Jesus, his first warning towards us is, do not be deceived, because there's a great deception in the world at this time. Great deception, not a little deception. No, this is a great deception. And so we have to be as wise as serpents and harmless as doves, right? And so anyway, let's try to awaken people to the truth, but awaken ourselves first. Quit eating, you know, quit drinking the Kool-Aid, you know, and believing everything you see, and start reading your Bible and spending time in the Word and reading the book of Revelations. There's a blessing for those who read the book of Revelations, right? The Bible says there's a blessing for those who read the words of this prophecy and keep it. And so so yeah, I just think now is the time. I mean, will he do some good things? Of course he's going to do some great things. He is greatly beloved. I mean, like, there's some things he's done that I'm like, yes, that's amazing, you know. I want to see America building cars again. I want to see American farmers growing food. I want to see gas prices go down. I want to see the oil drilling. I want to see all that stuff. I want to see it, right? But there's so many things that I already know, like, no, that is a giant red flag, you know, especially this technology stuff that's coming in. And I forget the name of the some his whole Space Force thing, his whole, you know, whatever that stuff is called, the portal thing that he's talking about. I don't know what it is, but no, I don't think any of that's helpful, and I don't think I know where it leads, because it's demonic technology from fallen angels, right? So anything that's alien, anything to do with aliens, we're talking about demons at this point. And any AI that's demonic, all of that is very demonic. You know, the robotic systems, the Elon's building robots to put in everybody's houses, that is demonic. You know, so yeah, there's a lot of red flags that we should be super cautious of, and not just drink everything that Trump says as like the gospel, you know, because it's easier for him to deceive us than it is for Kamala or Biden to deceive us, because nobody believes what they have to say, because they're I mean, only really stupid people believe them anyway, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's easier to get the mass following to follow you if you're beloved, and then you'll just drink it in willingly. So anyway, if anybody has anything, if not, I finally have a drink tonight. Anyway, so was it Katie or K and D? Anyway, all right, guys, I will jump off here for tonight, but I hope you guys stay warm. Pray for me. And pray for I don't know how many kids got. I knew there was a school shooting, but I haven't seen the updates yet. I haven't been on the news yet to see. So pray for those families as well. I think it was in Tennessee. And yeah, I'll try to get on here in a couple days, and we'll do a little talk. Anyway, stay warm, enjoy the snow, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.